Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Finally back in action here. Missed a couple weeks there. Now a dad responsible for keeping somebody else alive. But we're coming back here for the finals. We got the Thunder at home game 1 versus these Pacers. Beat up on my Knicks. It's all good. We move on here. Definitely going to be taking a look at the matchups, the key insights you need for the series as a whole, and then get into some of these game 1 bets so that we can go ahead and get some of this stuff down. Also want to let you know we are back with the WNBA. Very excited to announce the launch of the WNBA season pass. First night back last night. Really, really good night. Made almost 6 units there. 7-1 on the record. So we're going to keep it rolling here. Make sure you check out the link right there. It takes you directly to the WNBA season pass. $100 for the whole season for those of y'all who are interested. So hope to see you guys in there as we're going to start coming out with videos for that as well this week. But let's go ahead and get into everything that we've got here for game 1. If that all sounds good, give this video a like. Let's jump right into it. Game 1 notes here as we jump into this series. OKC won both of the regular season matchups, one in December, one in late March there as well. Don't know how much we take away from those. Chet missed both games. Nesmith also missed the first game. Super important. Benedict Mathurin missed a game. So I don't think we can get too much from the regular season matchups and use it for these this finals series here. But I will say the matchups were pretty clear. We're going to dive into who's guarding whom here in just a sec. But I will say Nembhard was the one guarding SGA both games. And that's the biggest defensive question that I have for the Pacers is how much Nembhard versus how much Nesmith. It'll probably be pretty close to 50-50, although Nembhard will get the start there, I imagine. And I think that's mostly because Nesmith matches up better with J-Dub, right? Jalen Williams out there. He's probably a little bit too big for Nembhard, so you're going to need a bigger guy like Nesmith on him, which leaves Nembhard on SGA. Not the length that you're looking for. I think SGA is in line for a big series. Call me crazy. I think the MVP is probably going to have a good finals. But Indy is dead last in offensive rebounds in the playoffs. And we need to know that because that's helped them in their transition defense, which has been second best in the playoffs, just behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. Both these teams very, very good in transition, both on offense and defense. But Indy is selling out to make sure that they get back, don't give up any transition points. As a result, not really getting very many offensive rebounds, which probably leads to a few more boards for guys like Chet and a few other Thunder players who won't be as contested on their defensive rebounds. The last thing I'll say here, shout out Jonathan Sharks, RIP as well, the Ringer writer who I love to follow for all things NBA. He would always say something that stuck with me, which was the longer the playoffs go on, the smaller they get. And what he meant by that was the smaller the lineups get. You feel a lot less comfortability playing your bigs, guys who can't dribble, guys who might be uncomfortable, putting the ball on the floor. Those guys tend to play less. Once you get deeper into the playoffs, coaches can't afford turnovers. So we might not be seeing quite as much Miles Turner and Isaiah Hartenstein. Those are the two guys who I think would definitely be, losing and suffering in terms of the minutes that they'll see in this series, because guys like Chet are going to play that small ball. He's 7'1" or whatever, but small ball 5 because he's so versatile. And then Pascal will probably be that small ball 5 with even Nesmith at times taking that role for the Pacers here in this series. So how will the Pacers guard this Thunder squad? I do think we're going to start this way, but again, Nesmith, Nembhard, they're both going to be interchangeable in terms of guarding SGA, and we'll see some Nesmith on him as well. But Nembhard will get the start on him, then Hallie on Dort, which is what we always see, Hallie guarding the guy who's off ball for the opponent, which does lead to some rebounds. We'll talk about that for him in a minute. Nesmith, most likely on J-Dub, and then a few minutes as well guarding SGA as the primary defender. But the key is it's going to be team defense here for sure. You're going to have Siakam on Holmgren and then Turner on Hartenstein, also somewhat interchangeable, but we're going to see a lot of Caruso, Cason Wallace coming in for Hartenstein. That'll be the guy that suffers there. And then when we get the Benedict Mathurins, Obi Toppins, even some Thomas Bryant minutes for the bigs, Turner's probably not going to be seeing like high 30s, right? Or I think it's closer to low 30s and some games in the 20s for him, as they'll definitely be going small to try to keep up with OKC. Other side, normal stuff as well. Dort on the best player on the perimeter for the Pacers. That'll be Hallie. And then SGA will be on Nembhard, Williams on Nesmith. Those will probably be interchangeable as well in terms of Williams and SGA and who they're guarding here. But I would imagine that they're a little bit more worried about Nesmith, so they'll have J-Dub, Jalen Williams on him instead. And then Holmgren and Siakam, Hartenstein and Turner. This could be a little bit different. The Thunder on defense, I'm not quite as confident about in terms of who's going to match up with whom, but this is what makes the most sense as of right now, pretty much straight across the board. We'll see what happens after game 1, coming back and looking at that with you for game 2, obviously. As always, using Props Madness here to share my screen, show you guys what I'm looking at for these player props that I'd like to bet on for Thursday night. Do want to make sure you know that you can get 25% off if you use code LYB. Also get yourself a 7-day free trial to test it out, and you can see how I'll be using it here throughout this episode. But I should mention the WNBA. This is the #1 platform for sports betting research for player props in basketball in general. But the WNBA is different. This platform has way more for the WNBA analysis and insights than any other platform. Pips won't give me the secret to how he gets this data, but he gets it. And this is the only place to find it, things like play type and other things here. So I would definitely be checking out this for the W, even more so than for the NBA, to be honest. But let's go ahead and dive into the NBA and the things I'm looking at here. And we'll just go down the line like I've been doing in the postseason with you guys and start with SGA and what we're looking at for him. And really what I'm looking at is 33.5 points is insane. I'm not going to fade him, but we've got to at least like draw the line somewhere. And I think it's at about 32.5 points for SGA. The assists, the boards, beatable. Both, I think, are beatable. If you want to combine them for the RA, I'm fine with that. But I probably would just be playing these individually. I'm not as confident in both of them as together there once you get up to about needing 13 of them. So either way, like what we're getting here is 7 for him to get 7 assists or 6 boards. Let's start with the boards here. I told you who he's guarding. We've seen in which is going to be right Nembhard, most likely, some Neesmith as well. If we look at him in the playoffs here, right, he's up at about 5.7 boards. The rebound chances definitely have gone up to about 10.2 from about 8.9 on the season. He's getting a few more minutes, but more importantly, he's just not guarding the best player on the other team or even one of the top 2 best offensive players for the opponent in the playoffs. So as a result, he's playing off ball, definitely able to get a few more rebounds. 5.5 is a lot, but once we get into the finals and things tighten up, I do think we're going to see some more missed shots than we've been seeing in these playoffs from both of these teams who have shot very, very well. But it's also like things tighten up a little bit more here. This is another notch than from the Eastern Conference or Western Conference finals. This is going to be a tougher series in general because of how tight things get. So the boards should increase. And as far as the assists go, not only do I think 6.5 is going to be a consistently beatable number for SGA in this series, I do think he'll average about closer to 8. Where he's at 7 in the playoffs. I do think they're going to have to throw too many other guys at him. I don't think they can afford to guard him one-on-one. Even though the Pacers do like to guard one-on-one and not leave shooters, this is just different series, right? With SGA, you're going to have to throw something else at him because neither Nembhard or Neesmith are really going to be in good position to stop him. I mean, nobody has, right? As we know, there's a reason he's averaging the 30 points a game in the playoffs, which is not easy to do. One of only a couple players doing that in these playoffs, including Jalen Brunson, who's no longer around. But more importantly for SGA, I think we're going RA or individual bets for the assists and the rebounds. The points, we're just getting to a silly high place, man, and there's going to be the Pacers are going to force other guys to take those shots. Contradicting myself here a little bit, though, with J-Dub, because I'm not taking an over for Jalen Williams. I'd actually like the under here on the points. 22.5 is where we're at. You can get that for -105 on BetMGM. Look, man, I mean, dude in the playoffs is at 20.4 per game. Even in the regular season, if we change this from playoffs to regular season, still at about 21.6 points per game on the season. 23 is just crazy. And it's not like he's shown to be like this crazy good scorer here in the playoffs. Now, the Memphis series was a very easy series for him, but once you put a guy like Aaron Gordon, like in this Denver series on him, struggled a ton. Then we come over here to the Timberwolves series. He just shot the ball pretty poorly other than the 3 games, right, that he went over, went under in a couple as well. I don't trust him at this point in the playoffs to be a consistent scorer. I mean, if you look at his field goal percentage as well, that's dropped from the regular season. He's at about 45% now on his field goals versus 48%. That's like 3 to 4 misses per game for him. Not good, right? Even the field goal attempts, it's not like they've gone up just because they're in the playoffs. This team hasn't really changed the way it plays that much on offense. He's still at 16.8. So all things equal here in a very tough situation in the playoffs, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is not a good matchup for him, especially when you look at the way that this transition defense has played. He relies so heavily on transition for his points. He's one of their best transition players, if not their best, honestly, that he's going to be looking to do that. And this is the number 1 transition defense or number 2, whatever, in the playoffs and has been very, very good all season for a reason. So I think he's going to struggle to score. I think the PRA is also a relatively good under at 33.5. This stuff's going to drop, man. I see this consistently sitting at about 31.5 for his PRA. That's what I have him projected for. So I just think it's not going to be an awesome series for J-Dub once again. Chet Holmgren is a perfect moment in time for me to sort of heed caution here with you guys, right? Because we're not just playing, oh, who's going to have a good game? Let me bet on them. Yes, it's who's going to have a good game. And I think Chet is going to be out there for a lot. He's going to get the minutes. He's going to be the quote unquote small ball 5, the 7'2" small ball 5 or whatever he is. But because of his versatility, they can keep him out there. You don't have to take him off the floor at any point. He can guard multiple positions. That said, these numbers are stupid. 9.5 boards is where he's at right now. And the over is not even plus money on some of these books, right? Like even money or a little plus money here. here, but then you got minus 102, minus 105. Like, I can't be paying that for 10 boards for a guy who's in the playoffs. He's at 8.6 on the regular season. He's at 8.2. Give him 30, 35 minutes. Still doesn't really matter. He's still going to be less than 10 boards per game. If we say he plays at least 30 minutes, right? And we cap him at about 35 or 36 even. Right? We're not going to be getting consistently 210 rebounds. And I just don't think this is a smart bet when you consider like who he's going to be guarding. If it's Pascal, he's going to have to come out a bunch, right? If it is Miles Turner, he's still going to have to come out a bunch as those guys play a lot on the perimeter and then go to the basket, or for Miles Turner spotting up a lot. So I don't think he's going to be in position for these boards. I think the points, this is about what it should be. If you're looking at the normal stuff for him in the playoffs, 16.5. This is just his averages of where he's at. So it's basically a 50-50 bet. I don't have much of an edge on Chet either way. I'll just say like that I definitely would not be guarding on Hartenstein. I'll just talk about them in the same breath, which is I don't trust him for the minutes anymore. And what's interesting is if you look at Hartenstein and you take him and you say he's not playing more than 20, which is what he did very consistently in the last series and in the playoffs in general. Well, he's at about 6.5 points per game. The rebounds, he's at about 6.4. Those are the prop lines. So I think the books are doing the same thing that I'm doing, which is like, well, how many minutes do we think this dude plays? And the answer clearly seems to be not very many, because they're projecting him to have his averages at about 20 minutes. So Hartenstein, probably not long for this series. I can talk about Miles Turner in the same breath. Those two guys pretty much just staying away from. But to finish the Chet point, also staying away from him, as I just think these prop lines are too high for him. This dude's going to get minutes too. I like Caruso 10 plus points. I'll probably just keep betting it blindly. I think the threes are worth touching as well at about plus 130 or so for him to hit 2 of them. The thing about Caruso is if you look at the playoffs, right? If you look at the games where they blow teams out, which when you're playing the Thunder, a blowout is always a realistic possibility. We can go and look at games won, right? So if they won by 15 or so in the play, at least 15 points in the playoffs, the numbers, he's at 7.4 points now, right? If you look at the minutes in this situation, he's at 20 per game in these situations, right? Because they're winning. He's the guy that they're taking out when they blow out another team, because they don't need the old head out there for as many minutes. They can give him the rest, play the Kason Wallace's without losing much, if anything, on defense, playing the Isaiah Joes for shooting. Like, they don't need Caruso if it's not a close game. So the reason I like the 10 plus points for him is if he is going to, if they are in a close game, I should say, then he will be getting 25 to 27 minutes. His minutes as a whole have gone up about 2.5 in the playoffs this season from what they were in the regular season, because they are going to rely on him as a vet that doesn't get scared by the moment. That said, again, they rest him when they don't need him. So I'm not going crazy on the Caruso stuff, but I think 10 plus points for him consistently in this series is a good auto bet, because if it is a close game, he'll get the minutes that warrant him to get 10 plus. Last guy I'm looking at for OKC, Lou Dort. If you want to bet on Dort, do it at home. So this would be the game, because I'm not touching Dort on the road. As we know, if we look at these splits here from home and away in the playoffs alone, at home in the playoffs, 10 points per game. On the road in the playoffs, 5 points per game. He is twice as good at home as he is in the playoffs. I'm laughing because I forgot it was 5. I thought it was like 7 points per game. He can't even get to 7. He's still at 5 a game when they play on the road. So stay away from Dort when he's away. Go ahead and feel good about betting on him to get 10 plus, maybe a couple threes as well when he's at home. On the road, I'm out. At home, gotta bet the over. As we dive into these Pacers players, go ahead and give that video a like. Goes a super long way to help the channel, so much appreciated. Also highly recommending subscribing so you don't miss any of these episodes or the live shows that we're going to be bringing back as well. But let's start with the guy that's expected to score the most points for the Pacers. And I agree. I think he's going to have the best series for this team. The two bets I like the most, might as well grab the PRA. If you look at him head-to-head on the season, head-to-head on the season, in the first game, 31 minutes, normal game because they only lost by 6. Second game, just 27 minutes because they lost by 21. But I think this first game is a lot better indication of what's going to happen. As long as they keep this thing inside 20 points, Pascal should be a guy that they're going to rely on in this series. He and Nembhard are going to be the two guys that I see getting the ball as soon as Halliburton is double teamed. And there will be plenty of double teams. That's what this team does on defense for OKC. They're going to force the ball out of the primary ball handler's hands and then force other guys to beat them. well, they're going to be forcing Pascal and Nembhard to beat them as a result. So I do like Pascal here on the points. I think the rebounds are really good. If you look at him, he did have one game with 15 rebound chances. The other game against them, just 10, but pulled down 9 of them. Because again, I think he's going to be in good position to get a few offensive boards. And then on defense, he's going to be guarding guys that will cause him to be down low, especially when he's the small ball 5. So the assists as well, I think those are going to be fine. He had 6 potentials in both of the games against them, which should be good for about 3. So if you add the assist to it, get to the PRA, 28.5 I think is playable, but if you got to take 29.5, which is where it is available on most books, I think he's in line for a big series. The other bet I mentioned for him is the threes. He took 7 and then he took 5. If you're saying he needs to go 2 for 5 or 2 for 6 or something like that, and I'm getting plus money, I do think the threes are going to be there for him because, again, they're going to be forcing the ball out of Halliburton's hands, making the defense a little bit more imbalanced, leaving other guys to make some shots. I think Siakam's going to be one of them. I think the threes at plus money is still a good look for him in this series. So for Halliburton, I think we have the opportunity to get some sort of negatively correlated bets down, right? Because I do think the boards are still going to be good. And the books are onto that because if you look at him in the playoffs, he's at 5.7 boards per game. So they obviously agree that he's likely to get a bunch of boards in this. The other thing is OKC a lot more likely to give up the rebounds to his position. If you look at them on the season, defensive rank versus guards, 21st in the playoffs, 11th out of 16, right? So there's definitely the opportunity for him to get boards. On the playoffs as a whole, they're second worst in terms of allowing rebounds as well, and especially to guards, like I said. So I think this is where you bet an over for him if you want to. I think points and assists is a good under, though. 26.5, I think that's low for a reason, right? It's going to be very tough for him in this series. If you look at him head-to-head so far against this team, played 29 and 35 minutes in the regular season, probably going to be at 35 to 40 in the finals here, but when there's a blowout, maybe not as well. So, and there will be a couple blowouts in these this finals series. There's just no way around it. We got a 10-point spread for game 1. So I'm looking at unders for him on the PA. We know how this team plays, limiting PA to the opponents. I meant to show you that real quick. If we look at head-to-head against them, they're on the season, they're amazing, right? 7th in terms of his play type. They've got 4th limiting assists, like top 10 limiting guard assists, guard points, everything, right? They just have a whole army of really, really solid A+ wing defenders. Not the series for Halliburton. I think this is going to be finally where he slows down a bit. Turner, I already mentioned, not feeling anything with the bigs in this series, but I think Nembhard on the PA is going to be a pretty consistent bet. This should be about 16 or 17.5. There's no way around that. On the regular season, really good numbers in just 29 and 30 minutes in the first 2 games. Didn't even have to shoot that well. Like he did shoot 50% from the field overall, exactly 50% against this team, but the volume is there. Not only on the shots, 17 shots and 13 shots, but 18 potential assists and 13 potential assists in the 2 regular season games that he played. Because again, it's what I was talking about where they double team Halliburton. He's forced to get rid of the ball early in the possession. And now Nembhard is facing about a 4-on-3 because 2 guys just took Hallie. He's now open, or at least somebody on the team is. So he's going to have the ball in his hands with the opportunity to drive and try to finish, or drive and kick, or just swing it and find another guy. But he's going to have a ton of touches. He's going to be involved a ton here. These props are just too low. Even in a game where, in a series where it's not good for guards, this guard, the secondary guard, not the primary in Halliburton, is good for some overs against this squad. Similar thought process for Nesmith. I think the points and the rebounds are going to be good for him in this one. 15.5, great number to go over on the PR. If we're talking about boards and why that would be, well, like I said, he's probably guarding J-Dub a lot more than SGA, which does keep him off ball a bit more, but it also means he needs to crash the board because we know J-Dub is crashing the offensive boards a ton, which forces him to make sure that he's getting involved in the rebounding. That's one thing. Then we look at the points at 11.5. Look, this is going to be an up and down kind of thing. I can't guarantee he's going to score 12 every time, but on average, over the course of this series, I definitely expect him to be averaging 12 points per game in the series as a whole. He's at 14 per game in the playoffs, and you can see a lot of stuff goes up for him once we got into the playoffs. His minutes went from 26 to 29 now in the offs because he's so important to the defense. So important for guarding one of the top 2 players on the other team. In this case, will most likely be Jalen Williams. So we're going to feel good about Nesmith consistently performing in the finals. All right, don't forget, if you do want to jump into the WNBA, we are going full steam into it now. 7-1 so far on the season after one night. Coming back with Thursday's stuff here for the Commissioner's Cup as well. Definitely head over to the link there on WAP.com. Everything's in the description of the video that you need, but it's $100 for the whole season in the WNBA. So hope to see you guys in there. Until I do, happy betting.